What's up, guys? I'm Uncle Freedom, coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved day off. How's it going? First things, y'all like, subscribe, share, do the whole YouTube thing, man. Every time you do that, it pushes more 2A content out to the masses, and I appreciate it. Also, take a moment and check out my friends over at outlastsupply.com. They are fantastic people who support yours truly, and if you were looking for some of the stuff that you may go there looking for, I would search for personal defense. Kind of like going to a speakeasy, man. You walk into a phone booth, pick up the phone, dial the right number, the door opens, and you go to Shangri-La on the other side. That is basically what we're doing there. It's awesome. They're great people, and they support me, and I appreciate it. So today, it's finally time to talk about the Griffin Mark II. I have had the Griffin Mark II now for several months. At this point, I have done extensive testing on that platform itself, and it's kind of impressive. But it's time to really brass tacks this and talk about that gun itself and what it is. So fair warning, YouTube, I'm going to show firearms today. Firearms are safe and clear. I am in an area of my home in which I perform maintenance for the 1 Grammer Nazi who caught this the other day. I perform maintenance work on firearms down here. I also dry fire, do testing. There's Kevlar paneling behind the camera. Nobody's going to get got through the internet, so let's get this thing going. So what is the Griffin Mark II that I have had? It's this guy. Racha. So what I have here is a very clear firearm. You can see that right there, right? Very clear firearm. This is a 14.5-inch pin and welded 223 wild chambered, fully ambi semi-automatic rifle made by Griffin Armament. The Mark II is the newest variant of Griffin Armament's rifle system itself. The Mark I, which was not an ambi setup on the rifle itself, it was kind of your standard AR, which was awesome, but they made improvements to that mainly by making this a fully ambi package. Now, my current round count on this rifle here, I have had this since the beginning of this year. My current round count is 6,987 rounds. So, yeah, you heard that right. For those people that have wondered about the numbers I give you for round counts, I shoot a lot. This has been my primary training rifle and go-to work rifle now for the last several months, and I am closing in at 7,000 rounds. I would have actually been at 7,400 rounds as of this review, but I did not make it to my last range day because life got in the way, and I have children, and we had to do some things. So the way this guy is set up is not entirely as it comes, but we'll get it more into what I changed and why I changed it. And the accuracy testing part of this, holy crap, you're not going to want to miss that. I impressed me. We'll go with that. So what I have here on this upper receiver, let's go ahead and remove my can off camera so that YouTube doesn't freak out. There we go. So this is a 14.5-inch pin and welded with a dual lock muzzle device on the end of it. This barrel is 416 stainless steel with a 1 8 twist. It is a 5R rifled barrel that has a hand-lapped match chamber, true bore concentric threads on the end of it to ensure that we don't run into any concentricity issues, which is one of the perks of having a rifle made by a suppressor company. And it's a nitrited after that. I don't know who caught those specs when I was talking about it, but those are excellent freaking specs. Now, typically what we would see when we started talking about a stainless steel barrel is there can be some longevity issues. Stainless steel will typically be more accurate, but you will sacrifice some barrel life on the end versus something like a chrome moly. Now, when I had this gun run out, I tested this guy out with a Griffin Armament optic, mount, and secondary optic. This was sent to me with the platform itself for me to test. They wanted my honest opinion on it. And what I had here is the 1 8 power first focal plane ICO, which is the ideal combat optic. This is Griffin Armament's 1 8. This is not a USA made optic, so don't get freaked out. This is a mill-based reticle system, and I'll try to flash a picture of the reticle into here somewhere, with a 30mm tube, and this has an illuminated green reticle. Now, the mount for the scope itself is the 1.335 GPM mount, which has, if you notice on this guy, you'll see these holes all around it, right? Those holes are actually all threaded for what's known as the AIS, or the Accessory Interface Suite. Pretty cool. I paired that up with the Griffin Armament micro sight, which is a enclosed emitter micro red dot on an acro footprint. So this will fit any of your acro stuff. And what I mounted on there, you'll notice this guy's a little offset to the side. Mounted here, this is the RTO, or the Rapid Transition Optic Plate. So that is the name for everything, which screws directly into the AIS, or the Accessory Interface Suite. Now that I've got all those crazy acronyms out of the way for this system itself. Now after that, we move over to the charging handle itself, which is the Snatch, or the Suppressor Normalized Ambidextrous Charging Handle. Again, we're dealing with stuff that is made by a company that makes cans primarily, so it is a good safe bet that the firearm itself is going to be optimized to run suppressed, because again, they make suppressors. This is the first rifle I've ever owned that was made by a suppressor company, and I was really curious, as a guy that runs a lot of cans and I shoot a lot suppressed, how well the system would perform and what were some benefits I would see running a system that was primarily designed to be run suppressed. So this is the Gen 2 version of the charging handle. There was a Gen 1 of the Snatch itself. The Gen 1 actually vented. There is a gas vent on the bottom of this guy that vents gas away from the shooter. Now the original version of this vented it out at 90 degrees, which if you're a righty, doesn't matter. If you're a lefty, can be a problem. So in the Gen 2 version, they actually changed that. So we're gonna vent gas now at a 60-degree angle. So we're gonna vent the gas away from even our lefty shooter's face. So my wrong-handed dudes, rejoice, man. Now the Snatch also makes use, if you see here, instead of being roll pinned into this guy here, we have screws. So the actual levers themselves are configurable by the user. Maybe you need a shorter lever, a longer lever. I have found the standard to be just about perfect for what I want to do. And I am kind of a charging handle snob. I ran the BCM Mod 3x3s forever. I ran the the Raptor charging handles forever. And then I moved over to the ACH from Forward Controls. This charging handle, excellent. I would not change it. I like it. Now, after that, you move to the bolt carrier group. So this is not the newest bolt carrier group. It is their standard bolt carrier group, because that is what I did a primary amount of the testing on. I have their new suppressor bolt carrier group. Yes, it is quieter at the ear, but it is such kind of a neat thing. We're going to show that in a separate video comparing the two, versus I wanted to show this rifle in the configuration it spent most of its time with me. So the bolt carrier group itself is 8620 for the actual carrier unit itself, with Carpenter 158, which is the standard for the bolt. This is all billet machine, no forged parts anywhere in the bolt carrier group. I have seen that happen recently. Properly heat treated, shot peened, and then melanited. The carrier key on it is incredibly well staked. The only thing I would change and say is, like, I would love to see would be to use aux screws in there, because they are just a little more secure, but I have never seen an issue with that happening out of there. And it also comes with the newest Crane O-ring mod for the extractor, so it's been utterly reliable. Out on the end of this guy, I have the Griffin Armament dual lock closed tine flash hider. I am not a big fan of comps and brakes on guns. I like flash hiders. I don't really have to mess with the recoil pattern that comes from an AR, but I like a flash hider because flash hiders are really useful even if I don't have the can, whereas a brake can be pretty freaking obnoxious, especially on a gun that is shorter than 16. Now, being that this is pin and welded, that is a permanent attachment to this rifle itself, and that means that this meets the definition of a rifle as far as the laws are concerned. This is over 16 inches long from the breech face to the end of the muzzle itself. Now the lower is kind of where the magic comes for the Mark II system. So the lower here, we actually have a full ambi setup. You see I have an ambi safety. This is my bolt catch, bolt release. And then I also have a mag release on the left side. My standard bolt catch is there just like normal on this side. Now as far as the ambi controls, this was my first full ambied rifle. I'd had ambi safeties for a long time. I had done the bad lever, which I was not a fan of. I had ambi mag releases, but this was my first time messing around with a really well-designed ambi bolt catch. I have found the bolt catch to be so freaking useful, man, because I can sit here and if I need to move and manipulate something, I can literally just do this and keep this firing hand on the rifle itself. You know, if I need to drop that bolt, I can do all of that from the firing hand itself, which is really cool. Now, I will say that the magazine release I have not found myself using, mainly because I am not used to putting my thumb there to get it to drop. My lefty friends that had it actually did use it when they shot it a few times. But what I noticed with this is my big concern with having an ambi mag release is that there was going to be enough standoff that it resting against my body would cause the magazine to drop. I am happy to report to you that I never inadvertently dropped a magazine hitting this offside mag release. So that means that it is low profile enough and well done enough that the tensions are right that I don't inadvertently drop a mag, which is a big deal for a dude that's running this thing operationally. Now, this lower comes with the Griffin Armament mil-spec trigger, which is an improved trigger. It's a very smooth, crisp, clean mil-spec trigger. It also comes with an ambi safety that is 90 degrees. I am not a 90-degree safety guy. And the reason being is I want that 45 or 50 because when I shoot in a precision mind, I have my thumb on the ejection port side and I rest my thumb on that safety as a shelf. If I have a 90, I don't have anywhere to put my thumb. This just provides me control in the way that I am used to controlling the firearm, which is important. So I replaced it with a Griffin Armament 50-degree safety. They sent that to me because I told them point blank I don't like 90 safeties. They sent that over to me and I went ahead and ran it. So moving back from that, we have the actual receiver extension here, or the buffer tube and buffer assembly. Now this is another area where we see things that have to be tailored to you running a suppressed gun, right? I am a big fan of the Veltar A5 system or the BCM Mark II system, which is a slightly longer buffer tube with a rifle link spring and a slightly longer buffer. This is known as their SOB, or their suppressor optimized buffer system, which is actually purpose-built. It's got extremely smooth, balanced recoil onto it using the suppressed guns. It's running a 4.9 ounce buffer. That buffer itself, though, is spring-loaded on the inside and it has a staggered impact. So what I get is I get a good slowing down of the bolt carrier without the sudden jolt at the end. I am decelerating things before it hits me, which leads to a much smoother recoil impulse. Now, the rail on this rifle is something from Griffin Armament. This is their 13-inch low-profile rail. Now, we look at this rail, it's kind of like a rounded off square. So if you thought of a square and you rounded the corners off, that's about the profile of this guy. I have pick rail at 12 o'clock, and I have a pick rail piece I mounted here at the bottom. That's an Expo Arms aluminum pick rail piece. And then I have M-lock at 3, 6, and 9. Now, I did notice some issues when mounting up lights. If I'm running a standard offset, it hits because the recess isn't far enough here at 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock for it to sit all the way back. So I had to run it on a straight sideways here, as you can see. I will say, though, the rail itself is extremely rigid, holds 0 on anything I've put onto it, and it is very comfortable to hold in your hand to run the firearm itself. Now, this comes with Griffin Armament's rail covers here. You see these like frag pattern rail covers, and what it comes with is it comes with a set of 3, but then one of them has a hand stop on it. I ran that for the first little bit, but I realized I needed more for my hand for indexing, so I swapped stuff out on that. We'll get more into that later, what I did. The stock it comes with is known as their extreme condition stock. It is a great stock itself. It fits more into the M4 pattern, if you will, but it has more of a SOP mod cheek well. It also has built-in QD ports on the inside of it. It's pretty good, but again, I swapped it out, not for anything wrong with the stock. I swapped it out for a specific reason to me, which we'll cover in a second. And then the grip itself is known as their A3 grip. It is not as steep of an angle as an A2. It is a little more vertical. It has a frag pattern with a pinky ledge on it. Not a bad grip at all, but again, something I swapped out, not because there was anything wrong with it. And the sights that they sent to me with this are the M2 sights. They are not cheap. They are well over $100 to get your hands on those sights, but they're awesome. So they're actually running a set screw on the top that sits into a steel shim underneath it into your pick rail. So they do not move, they do not walk, there is no QD. They're metal, they're freaking well made, they're infinitely adjustable, they are very low profile when they're sat down on the gun. And if you get them with the offset version, you can actually take those sights and mount them directly to, or run them at a 45 offset. You will notice I don't have them on here though, because I have all kinds of other stuff mounted on this gun, and I need that stuff more than I need those backup sights. I also have 2 sighting options on the firearm as it sits. So moving on, cons. I did not care for the cheek weld that came on the factory stock. Nothing against the stock. The stock is great, and it's currently in use by a buddy of mine on his rifle. He loved it. But the cheek weld of it, how my face sat, it just did not work well with me, and I am a proponent of Magpul stocks, like a lot. That and B5 and BCM. So what I ended up doing with this guy is I swapped out my stock. This is the new DT stock from Magpul. The new release from this year. It's very stiff on the rail itself. It adjusts really well. It's got built-in QDs and a sling pass-through. But this serves as a bag rider, and I am a precision rifle guy. Even in my normal daily life, there is a chance that I can be called on to do that job. And having a bag rider for my rear bag is amazing. So that's one of the reasons I went there. It was more for uniformity and me being able to run that gun like I'd run every gun. That's why it got swapped. Nothing wrong with it again. I just didn't get as good of a cheek weld. It didn't feel the same. Now, the grip itself, this is a Magpul K2. I like kind of that overmolded. This is a very vertical grip, which I have found to be super important for me. But I am just so used to this pattern that it was throwing me off when I was shooting with the original grip. So again, swapped it out. It's currently also on my buddy's rifle. He loves it. This does have a QD end plate on here, which is great. I've been running BCM's sling swivels on here to mount this guy up. Now, as far as the sling swivel on the side, it does not come with one, but it comes with this 12 o'clock mounted. Mounts the same way with the shims. And then I get my QD, which makes that QD sit kind of at a 45 off to my offhand side, which has been really freaking nice. As I said, I needed a little bit more for my vertical because I index off of this. I rarely use this as a barricade stop, but I am always indexing off of it. And something that is ergonomic to me is more important. So what I have here is the Difrico Tiger Claw. Awesome. Like just awesome, intuitive, feels great. I fell in love with it. So I swapped out a couple other things. I swapped out the original trigger because again, I'm a trigger dude, and I went with a Geissele SSAE in this guy that I have in here, which is a 2-stage 4.5 pound trigger. I really like it. It works well on the firearm itself. I did have one issue, and that issue was I broke a bolt carrier. I do not know what went wrong. I am assuming it was a fluke because about 3,000 rounds in, I was doing routine maintenance inspecting it, and I realized I had a crack in the rear of the bolt carrier group behind the gas key. Contacted Griffin Armament, and within 3 days I had a replacement bolt carrier group. Have not seen a single issue since then. And then the new suppressor bolt carrier group came out. They sent it to me. I've run some testing on it to see what it was about. But again, I put the rifle back in its standard configuration because I wanted you to see it as I ran it. Now, what are the pros of this build? Well, the gassing it's slightly overgassed. But again, it's running suppressed. It's also, you have to think when you make firearms, you have to build firearms for the lowest common denominator, right? Because while I may only shoot M193 for training, there's a lot of people that may only be able to afford Tula or something, and they need the gun to run no matter what. So it is slightly overgassed, but even with a can on it, it's not so overgassed that it's obnoxious. The mitigation systems that they built into things like the charging handle and stuff, I am getting a lot of that gas vented away from me, which is making it more comfortable and pleasurable to shoot the firearm itself, especially in long, fast strings of fire where you can really get gassed out pretty easy. I will say I've never been gassed out on this platform itself, which has been nice. I have had exactly one malfunction, and that was not ammo related. I have had one malfunction in almost 7,000 rounds. That malfunction was actually me. I was running a test to see how many rounds I could put through this suppressed and where the lube broke down, because we all know that I am a proponent of the Cherry Bombs Black Rifle Bomb. Focus. That is my lube of choice. I love that stuff. And I was at about 1,200 rounds between lubing, and this thing was still running like a champ, but in the middle of a string of fire, I had my first failure to feed, and I was like, oh. And I mean, it was just grimy. So I pulled the bolt carrier off, threw a little lube on it, went right back to work, no problems at all. So again, that's I didn't lube it when I should have. So I can't really blame Griffin for that, but I do want to make note of it because it was a malfunction and I had one parts failure. So what are some other pros? That 5R rifling, right? The 5R rifling gets mentioned kind of in passing a lot, right? It's typically something we associate with bolt guns. And what 5R rifling is, it is a method of rifling a firearm's barrel. And what it does is it is way more accurate. And it does that by making less deformation on the actual projectile itself, and it does not foul as readily, which means I get more accuracy, more consistent accuracy shot to shot over the lifetime of the firearm. And that has been very, very true out of this system, as you're going to see here in just a second. So let's put this guy down and let's talk about accuracy. I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to show you about a 4-minute clip of my full shooting the last set of groups I shot for this thing. That shit is not bad at all. It's actually a pretty good group. And we're at 100 yards, in case anybody's wondering. It's not bad. That's good. That's a sub-inch group. The AAC. This guy up again. All right. I love these little Doppler chronographs. I have the Garmin Zero too, but I really been waiting to try that out because that is a much more affordable option. All right. 77 grain AAC. Got my Coltac Woobie bag too. I think I just fired 2 rounds. Sure did. That was the fastest split in history. That was wild. My bag group, 75 grain, 8208 XVR. Let's get it. Certainly not least, we're gonna shoot my duty ammo. Let's see what's up with that. So this is 55 grain Hornady Tap Urban. Let's see what we're shooting for here. Second dot on the top. These groups are on this gun. I need to preface this by saying that the accuracy I experienced was at almost 7,000 rounds for round count on a rifle that was run suppressed almost the entire time, and it was run extremely hard when I ran it. It should not surprise me of the accuracy standards I got, considering it is a 5R rifle barrel, which is known to maintain a better accuracy standard than a standard rifled barrel. But when they actually did the testing on these barrels to begin with, typically stainless steel does not last as long. They replaced their test barrel at 47,000 rounds, and it had nothing to do with the loss of accuracy or actual rifling loss inside of the barrel. It was actually because they had lug wear where the receiver extension actually screws in, not due to loss of rifling, which is insane. So let's look at these groups. So this is the target that I shot that day, Vanna White. Let's start here. This was one of my control groupings. This is PMC X-Tac, 55 grain M193. That is a .601 group with pretty decent freaking velocity and not a great standard deviation. But that is a 5-shot group from this rifle, shot as you saw in that video on a worn Skylight Pro, sitting on my Everly stock dirt nap shooting mat with a rear bag support system that consisted of the Coltac Trekker bag that I was using as a cuddle bag for my chest and a Coltac Whoopee bag. That is what I ran doing that with that optic at 100 yards. That is a .601 group. And that is insane. That is ball ammo. That is wild. So moving on from there, I did some accurate 25-20 under a 77 grain Sierra Match King, and we are looking at a .692 5-shot group because I had this one little flyer down there, and that was definitely me. Like, it was a bad trigger pull, but man, could you imagine if it was stacked in here? I'd have been shooting that 1/4 inch group size for a 5-shot 77 grain group, which is out freaking standing. Remember, this is at almost 7,000 rounds of hard use. So moving over, my actual duty ammo on this guy here, this is the 55 grain Hornady Tap Urban. As you can see, I had to make a little adjustment to my zero, but I ran a .798 inch group with 55 grain soft points out of this guy. Really respectable group out of there. I did not run the Fiocchi 62 and 55 like standard 55 grain affairs because I was just curious of how it would do. Then I decided it was time to step the test up, and I took M855, and I hate M855 because it is an inaccurate round by design. Right there, what you're looking at is a 1.222 inch group. That's wild, man. 1 1/4 inch group with M855 ball ammo. Woohoo! I'll take that all day long for M855 ball. Now, if I move over here, I took some standard pressure 55 grain full metal jacket right here. Just curious about what we would do. And I ran a .892 inch group on this guy as well. As you can see, none of these groups are bad. I wouldn't be mad at any of these groups. But then let's get into 3 of the rounds that I was really curious about here. So this is 8208 XBR over a 75 grain boat tail hollow point, and we have a .779 inch group. Again, I got one little flyer up here at the top. If I had done my part just a little better, this would have been probably a 1/2 inch group. Now, if you're ready for the fun ones, here we go. Here is a 75 grain. What was this? Oh yeah, 75 grain Frontier. So that brown and blue box. Frontier 75 grain boat tail hollow point match. We're looking at a .898 inch 5-shot group. Really good. I've got some horizontal stringing here on this guy, but that was group 7 for the day. And then I took AAC with the 77 grain match round that they have, not the Sierra Match Cream. Their 77 grain OTM round that it's like $10 a freaking box, right? 77 grain AAC. And that is a .530 inch group. That is insane. That's almost a 1/2 inch freaking group. Now, granted, the velocity was not exceptional there. You're looking there, it's 2479 was the standard, the average velocities that I had with a standard deviation of 16.7. So that stuff is not as fast as it could be, but my God, dude, that's a 1/2 inch. That's right in that 1/2 inch group territory, and that is awesome. So of the 8 groups fired on here, my average group size for a 5-round group was .8 inches is my average group size from 55 grain full metal jacket to M855 through several match loads to my duty load. That's wild. That's supremely accurate for a fighting gun. Like I can't even get words for it. Like, it's so good. Now, there's some other little things that they do to this that are just huge pros, right? The ambi control, specifically the bolt catch, is amazing. The safety, again, their 50 degree is amazing. But they even do little things that to most people, like, you're just like, yeah, whatever. But to guys like me that are running these things all the time, stuff like dimpled takedown and pivot pins, that's a big deal, man. It makes it easier to get your gun apart, especially if things are dirty and hot. In short end though, man, this rifle was good. Yeah, I mean, just like the accuracy is just goofy good, man. That's a 14.5 inch fighting gun that was shot with an HRT 556 G2. So this is the newer variant of their can. It runs exceptionally smooth. It's been utterly freaking reliable, and I trusted enough at this point that the last like handful of hits that we did where we raided homes or did high risk warrant service, that has been run as my primary firearm for those hits. That was the one that I had, and it lived its life attached to me because I knew if it went pear-shaped, that was the option that I was gonna have. And that was an option I was totally okay with being because it's been fast, accurate, utterly reliable, and it's printing groups in the sub-inch category with 55 grain 193 ball. That is freaking insane. I have been so thrilled with this firearm. I would absolutely love to see them make a 18-inch platform in a DMR variant. If they ever do that, I will beg and plead to get my hands on one because I would love to know how capable an 18-inch gun with a higher optic would do. As far as the light goes on here, this is the, I have, you'll notice on here, I actually run the 100 Concepts with the flash kill for the LPVO, and then I run the 100 Concepts for the flashlight itself. This is the brand new Streamlight rail mount HPX. So this is, I think, 800 and something lumens at 105,000 candela. That is a serious hotspot. Do I think it's legit 105,000 candela? I can tell you it keeps pace with a Surefire dual field turbo Scout Light. That's running on a single 18650. It runs on their new version of their tail cap here, so I actually have the ability to activate with the end of the tail cap itself, including constant on. But I have a crane plug that goes into here as well, running into their pressure pad, and I've got that guy hung up on some goon tape in here. And the sling I've got on it is a Viking Tactics VTAC padded sling in OD green. Again, 7,000 rounds, about half a year. And at 7,000 rounds, we're still printing groups down close to half an inch. I am so thrilled with that firearm. Like I said, I would love to see their 18-inch stuff. If there's another one you guys would like to see, if you want to see me do a PCC, because I've been thinking about that, and they've got some AR-9s that look pretty dope, and I think it would be fun to do a video on that for you guys, especially shooting that defensive ammo I love through that platform itself. So if you guys want to see that, let me know here, and I'll tell them, and we'll see about getting that done. I am also going to be using one of their cans on the upcoming new bolt gun video that we're doing. I'm going to be running a... oh my gosh, a Bagara B14 HMR on that guy 308 with a 22-inch heavy bull barrel. I'm going to be using their muzzle device, and I'm going to use their can on that guy as well. Again, I would love to see you guys at Griffin Armament make an 18-inch SPR driven variant that's got that kind of freaking accuracy and clout. I would love to see you guys do that. It would be amazing to see. They have a new colorway, that Terra Bronze is really, really pretty. I did not get that. They're hard to get right now. But for what that runs, you are talking about a platform that is sub-minute capable all day long with you, even apparently with 193. It's been utterly reliable. It's made to run suppressed. It doesn't gas you out. And it's got exceptional components and quality built into that thing. And you're doing that at less than 2 Gs. I can't be freaking mad about that at all. That thing is an exceptional piece of work. That is a true fighting rifle, and I have never been more happy that I got a chance to test something that literally just surprised me and never let me down. It's been awesome. So Griffin, thank you so much, guys, for sending that out to me. I hope I did it justice, because I've been nothing but impressed. And here's the thing. The one bad I had was the broken bolt carrier. And that's just a bad thing. And I've broken bolt carriers from Expo, from other companies. It just happens, man. Like, eventually stuff breaks. Would I do it again? 100% That thing just shoots. So guys, I am Uncle Freedom. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Hopefully you found this informative. Hopefully you know more now than you did when you started the video. Go check those guys out. They're freaking cool. Again, I don't sell anything YouTube. I don't make any money if they buy a freaking firearm. It's just not how this world works. I am simply trying to educate them and give them the best unbiased information I can. And if a gun at 7,000 rounds, I can lay down behind it and print you in a sub 3/4 inch group with M193 ball at 100 yards. You're not going to get me to talk bad about that, because that is freaking amazing. And there are some higher end guns I cannot do that with. So guys, I'm Uncle Freedom. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And until next time, I'll see you later.